Welcome everybody to week 13 of the college football season as our number 17 Florida Gators 7-3 take on inferior FCS competition. So that means we're going to be looking elsewhere for our game of the week. And now, you know, I'm getting back into NCAA. I found out we could just sort here by top 25, which helps it look better. Easy to find matchups. And really, you know, it came down to, that's a big game, Ohio State, Indiana, when they play a big-time rivalry. We have a chance to play with Florida Atlantic this week against Old Dominion. But the best matchup to still feature a player that, you know, definitely will be considered in our Madden career. Not with the Eagles, but that is Josh Rosen here, the number 16 UCLA Bruins as they take on Arizona State. I think this is the best matchup of the bunch, so we will be controlling this one, but more importantly, keeping an eye here on Florida Atlantic. Better believe it. But without further ado, let's take over with Josh Rosen. Hopefully we can buck the trend of just throwing mass amounts of interceptions, and we can do this damn thing. So let's jump right into this. When we get back, we'll take a look at the results around the league, players of the week, and a recap of the new, fresh top 25 as we head into week 14. Alright, so we're going to do something a little bit different this episode because I'm not doing a thorough job enough. So looking at UCLA versus Arizona, more importantly UCLA, one of the best offenses with that second in passing yards, second in yards, third in passing yards. Defense is looking great. I was like, alright, let's do this. And then I found out Josh Rosen's hurt. He's out for 4 weeks, which really just, you know, kind of negates why I want to play this game. There we go. We'll just have Kalen Balich, very talented running back for Arizona State, and Keel Harry looking good. So what we're going to do here, just because we're already in, is we're just going to sim this game out, play the or whatever, do the super sim. But because I have yet to do it, we're going to look at all the top dog stats. So the majority of this video will be me recapping, like looking at like how Josh Rosen, Sam Darnold, where they are statistically speaking on the season, as most of the games have been played. Just a quick little mid to late season update of that, and then obviously once we get to, you know, the completion of this year, we can better finalize anyways our official ratings. So we're just gonna let's see what happens here in this game. I think number 16 UCLA without Josh Rosen, things are gonna be hurting a little bit, you would figure. But hey, we're up to a 10-0. Arizona State marches down the field 14-10. We're in the second half, kick a field goal, 17-17 tie ball game right now. Is this going to go to OT? Oh, Arizona with a last-ditch touchdown at Arizona State. Is it an upset, though, if they don't have their starting QB? Arizona State over UCLA, 23-17 in a very surprising result. We'll go get a recap of all the results around the week. Players of the week, top 25 as always, but we will have a little bit special because of lack of gameplay in this video, recapping and looking at some of the top dogs and how they're doing statistically. So looking around the top 25 results in week number 13 to see if anything is surprising, and you have to start with Indiana upsetting Ohio State 20-7. I think I saw somewhere in the beginning of this game in real life this year. It's been 30 years since Indiana has been able to beat Ohio State, and this is the year. You know, maybe that's one of those things. Maybe it was on Ohio State. They're weaker than they have been in the past, but still, nonetheless, incredibly impressive for Indiana to pick up that upset. We got Florida Atlantic still rolling. I see Joey Freshwater. USC over Colorado, Oregon over Arizona, Louisville over Memphis. So, you know, Lamar Jackson is still on fire. We saw this game here where UCLA fell. Josh Rosen less. UCLA fell to Arizona State. We have Kansas State beating Oklahoma in overtime 41-34. That's pretty damn, well, not that big. On paper that sounds like an upset, but Kansas State has been one of the surprise teams in this little simulation, if you will. Washington over Oregon State 28-21, and that pretty much wraps up it. But I mean that's not really that big of an upset, but the storyline here for sure is Indiana oh my god, speechless. The upset over Ohio State. Very, very shocking. So that being said, you know, we'll go a little bit different order. Let's see how that affects the polls truly, and more so who has risen. Because you figure out how West Virginia, UCLA, USC, sorry, West Virginia, Miami, Washington, and Alabama. So Alabama benefited a lot from that Ohio State defeat. Florida State, Oklahoma, Louisville. Anyone else really rising? Look at that. Ohio State falling 10 spots from number 2 all the way down to 12. Very similar to Wyoming last week after they tasted their first defeat. Our Florida Gators here are chilling at number 15, baby. Any risers on the week? Indiana got up the way to 22. We got North Carolina up now ranked at 24. Oklahoma just holding on to a ranked position. Same with UCLA, who we just saw lose a game. But man, oh my God, like the real lack of dominant teams is surprising when you see 4 lost teams being ranked in the top 25. Where really, it's rare to see more than a 3-loss team. Looking back on the week, seeing how some of the players were, we gotta see the players of the week. On defense is Lowell Otulele, one of the top D tackles in this year's draft class. 4 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery in a win at Washington State. Josh Allen, 8 total touchdowns against the University of Hawaii. My God, that guy put up one hell of a week. Looking at the ACC, Hunter Johnson, the QB here for Clemson, 5 total touchdowns. The Big Ten, Wilson Speight, 3 TDs and a win against Iowa. In the Big 12, Justice Hill, the Oklahoma State running back, 209 yards and 2 touchdowns. Here's the American. Here's the Central USA, Independence, the MAC, Midwest. As you saw, Josh Allen's a monster. 4 sacks for Gabe Perez here in a loss, a Boise State loss. After a big upset over Wyoming, they followed up with a loss to, you would figure, an inferior San Diego State team with no more Donnell Pumphrey. Here's the Pac-12, Sam Darnold, 4 touchdowns. Again, he's on fire. It is looking like a Sam Darnold versus Josh Rosen show. There's the SEC. We got Jacob Eason for Georgia with 5 total touchdowns on the day over a win over, I believe that's Kentucky. Here's the Sun Belt. And that is your players of the week. All right, so now let's look at some of the top stats as they're, we're getting ready for championship week in the dire end of the season. So they definitely will change a little bit. We have a good idea, though, if you're like, really a player's body of work for the entirety of the season. So the leading passing yards for QBs, I mean, we'll just go like this. Luke Falk, 3,200 passing yards, 34 touchdowns, 8 picks. Sam Darnold, 2,900 passing yards, 31 TDs, 6 picks. Nick Fitzgerald having a good year there for Mississippi State. Malik Rozier having a good year. Josh Allen, the quarterback for Wyoming, 2,400 passing yards, 24 TDs, and only 4 interceptions. That's really good for him. Mason Rudolph, 2,400 yards, 27 TDs, 8 picks. Sorry, 5 of those came while we were controlling him, so his stat line would probably even look a little bit more crazy if it wasn't for our terrible playing. There's DeAndre Francois, who has 28 touchdowns to 9 picks. That's a nice year for him. Jake Browning, 2,300 yards, 20 TDs, 8 picks. 27 TDs, 5 picks here for Trace McSorley at Penn State. Who else we got? Lamar Jackson, 26 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions. That's looking pretty damn good. I don't really think there's any other QBs that are worth mentioning at this given point. So we'll move on to the rushers. And for leading rush yards, it's John Hillman of Boston College, 1,300 yards and 16 touchdowns. Ware, who's been filling in for the injured Ronald Jones of USC, 1,300 yards, 10 TDs, so they're not really missing a whole lot there. Justice Hill of Oklahoma State, 1,300 yards, 6 touchdowns. Royce Freeman of Oregon, 1,300 yards, 14 TDs. So again, as an Eagle fan watching this in correlation with our Eagle series, nice to see Royce Freeman have a big year in case, he slips. We might be able to draft him in the draft. Nick Chubb, 1,100 yards, 9 TDs. Devwa Whaley, obviously he won't be able to declare yet, but a great young running back for sure. Saquon Barkley, 1,100 yards, 10 touchdowns. Not, I think that's kind of underwhelming for him, to be honest with you. Bo Scarborough, 1,000, just almost 1,100 yards, 12 touchdowns, so he's been able to kind of punch it in. Darius Geis, almost 1,100 yards, 11 TDs. So some of the big names aren't going off as much as you would figure. Myles Gaskin, 1,000 yards, 12 touchdowns, but no one's having really a bad year, which is a good thing to see. In terms of receiving, we'll give love to the top reception getter, Tavares Martin Jr. of Washington State. We all know they throw the ball like a motherfucker up there. He also leads the damn college in receiving yards, 1,258 and 11 touchdowns. Jaylen Brown, C.J. Johnson, Turner Smiley, Deontay Burnett, there we go, a draftable guy, or at least a high noteworthy guy to talk about, with 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns. Dante Pettis of Washington with 987 yards, 5 TDs. Quadri Henderson's intriguing prospect at the next level, 940 yards, 6 touchdowns, but definitely not as many 1,000-yard receivers as you'd figure. Alan Lazard from Iowa State, 913 yards, 7 TDs. Richie James, who's injured, 50 catches, 856 yards, and 9 touchdowns. He's a low-key sleeper. Auden Tate of the monster goddamn Kelvin Benjamin 2.0 in Florida State. 845 yards, 13 touchdowns to his name. Let's see if we got any other big-time name guys. We got Deion Kane there at Clemson. 772 yards, 9 touchdowns on the year. And N'Keal Harry's having a good year as a sophomore. Man, I'm not going to lie. Not a lot of big-time. All the big-name wide receivers aren't doing that great. Darren Carrington here, the transfer from Oregon now to Utah. 6 touchdowns. But yeah, not looking like a great class here for the wide receivers. Paris Campbell has 10 touchdowns. I guess we searched by TDs. Calvin Ridley, 10 touchdowns. But yeah, I'm kind of glad we don't really need to. Well, I don't know. I say that as we still don't have Alshon Jeffrey re-signed yet in the Eagles franchise. But it's looking like we might be all right at wide receiver. Look at that offensive line. I like seeing who gives up the least amount of sacks in this one. We pretty much just look at offensive line grades. Like a guy like this, Aaron Jenkins from fucking Lobos, he might get an added boost to his draft stock. I'm not gonna lie, offensive line is probably the biggest position to gain some ground and to use prospects from, because guys that have great years, that's kind of how it works in college football. There's like the big group of offensive linemen, and then it's the guys that rise, like someone like Forrest Lamp, for example. That might not be from the biggest school, but their production can't be ignored. Now look at the defensive side of things. So we'll look at a couple of leading tacklers. Again, I'm not going to be surprised if there's any big-time names. You got Marcus Bailey for Purdue. I mean, yeah, not a whole lot there. Usually it's on like the shittier schools. But we can look at tackles for loss. Tuzar Skipper. I don't know is that Toledo? 26 tackles for loss. Bunch of no-names performing. We got this Derek McCartney. Colorado defense is looking legit with 24 tackles for loss. Roquan Smith, the middle linebacker, 22 tackles for loss. This guy here has played like a monster. But even in the game we played Georgia, I was like, man, who the hell is this guy? He's a beast. What's this here? We got Will Geary on Kansas State, sorry, with 20 tackles for loss. Looking at the sacks, Skipper leading the damn country with 11.5 sacks. We got Martin here of Temple Tough, 10.5. Shortridge here, 10. Where are our big guys? Where are the big name guys? Let's see. Trayvon Young here with 8. Sorry, he's 85 overall. Jesus Christ. How about someone I know? Lowell Latulele with 7 sacks. That's looking pretty good. Jesus. Tyquan Lewis, 6.5. Not a lot of sacks here. Kind of underwhelming, to be honest with you. How about interceptions? Darius Phillips of Western Michigan, 7. Drayvon Askew Henry with 7. This guy's a monster, man. That's definitely good for him. Tanner Muse is looking good for a sophomore. Armani Watts there with 5. Really talented safety. Montez Hardig from Northwestern with a couple there. But none of the big guys. Obviously, you know, we got Meeks with 4. He's a big guy that probably will get drafted fairly high. But again, no, you're not seeing any like the Derwin James or anything like that with crazy stats. But yeah, definitely I would say that the running backs are looking good and the top QBs are looking good. A little bit underwhelmed on the defensive side of the ball, especially for edge rushers, and wide receivers aren't really performing. But there's still some more weeks to go, and you know, at least from the wide receiver standpoint, a bunch of guys that are close to 1,000 yards, and then once you hit that 1,000-yard mark, it's a little bit better. So there you go, guys. That is a quick recap of some of the stats. We will do this once the season is done to kind of prep our draft board for Madden 18. But thank you guys for watching. This is your first time stopping by. Don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment in the comment section below if you have any comments, questions, or concerns. Until next time, it's C4 saying peace out.